What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. There was a time when the Russian elite treated their homeland like a temporary job site. You punch in, extract every possible dime from state contracts or private takeovers, then clock out with your Bugatti headed to Monaco, and that's pretty much it. That was the career ladder. It was a dream built on theft, privilege, and a fatal miscalculation that the West would always welcome them with open arms, no matter how bloody their hands were back home. But guess what? That golden loophole is starting to close. Europe is already out. Dubai now is in. And while the Gulf states offer luxury speedboats and flashy waterfront condos, they do not offer one thing Russia's predators desperately need: protection. Which brings us to a very peculiar development. Ramzan Kadyrov, yes, that Kadyrov, the head of Chechnya, is reportedly securing asylum for his family in the Middle East. The once untouchable warlord now prepping his emergency escape hatch. Why? Because even he knows the Putin ship is leaking, and when it sinks, the rats who chewed the biggest holes in the hull are going down with it. And yes, for now the leakage might not be that strong, but it is most certainly happening. So the sinking might not feel that rapid, but it is just physics. Just think about it. The more water the ship gets, the faster it will disappear under the water. And at some point, the descent will be so fast, there will be no more time left for the rest of rats to abandon the vessel of Putin's Russia. So today, let's talk about where the rats are running, who's allowed on the lifeboats, and what it means when even Putin's most blood-soaked loyalists want a way out of this mess. Let's start with the basics. The Russian elite were never patriots. They were yes-saying looters and marauders. And while they cashed in on the chaos inside Russia, they invested their winnings in places governed by the rule of law. Why? Because even crooks do not want to be robbed. Very ironic, right? London mansions, French vineyards, Italian villas, all purchased not for love of culture, but for legal stability. In the West, if the government wants your yacht, it needs a court order. In Russia, on the other hand, your yacht becomes the governor's birthday gift if you, blink too slowly. The way they acquired their riches is exactly the same way they will lose them. And since they know the rules of the game they are playing, it is better for them to quit playing while they still hold the winning hand. That's why oligarchs pour their wealth into Europe. Even with sanctions, even being labeled accessories to Putin's war machine, they could still lawyer up and steal and stall proceedings. Jail was extremely unlikely, confiscation was delayed, and more often than not, they won. But then came 2022, the war. The sanctions, the sudden realization that no matter how well you hide your money in offshore accounts, the scent of blood eventually finds it. Now with the West cracking down, Russian billions are flowing east. The new promised land, it is now Dubai. The Emirates offer everything a kleptocrat ever needs: luxury, discretion, and minimal questions. You want to drop $3 million on a condo in cash? Welcome, why not? Want to register a company with fake shareholders? Not a problem. But here is the catch. The United Arab Emirates is not a liberal democracy by no means. It is an autocracy. And in an autocracy, rules are just guidelines. If you become a problem, your residency, your bank account, and your real estate can vanish in under 24 hours. No court, no appeal, just a call from Kremlin and a friendly handshake between despots. By the time you realize there is an active investigation about your persona, it means it is already in its final stages. And this is not just some kind of a movie fantasy, this has already been happening. Russian nationals wanted for fraud or other crimes have been handed over to Moscow with alarming speed. In other words, Dubai is a nice place to hide until someone decides you've been hiding a little bit too well, or until they realize you just hide a little bit too much stuff. Among such Putin's people who already think about an easy way out is Ramzan Kadyrov. Let's talk about his escape plan in our next chapter. Now let's talk about Ramzan Kadyrov, the man who ruled Chechnya like a medieval lord, who ran private torture chambers, and who publicly swore loyalty to Vladimir Putin as his one true god. Kadyrov was never part of the yacht club. Unlike the other elites, he was not shopping for penthouses in London. He couldn't. Nobody in Europe would give him a visa, let alone a mortgage, if he ever needed one. His name was already toxic long before Magnitsky sanctions became a trend. So while the oligarchs made exit plans and set up foreign passports for their children, Kadyrov doubled down. Loyalty was not a choice. For him, it was a survival. But now, reportedly, even he is making moves. According to Ukrainian media outlet iStories and some Western journalists, Kadyrov is trying to secure safe harbor for his family in the Gulf. Dubai, to be specific. And that's not loyalty, that's preliminary retreat just in case. And it's devastating for the Kremlin, because if Kadyrov, the regime's pitbull, the man trusted to keep other elites in line with blood and fear, if he is hedging his bets, it means he knows the system is collapsing. His loyalty was the one thing Putin could count on when everything else fell apart. The generals might betray you, the oligarchs might flee, but Kadyrov, he was supposed to sink with the ship if it came to that. Well, looks like apparently not. Apparently he wants his kids sipping mango juice in Doha when the hull starts already creaking. And that's the problem. Because if the last line of loyal thieves starts looking for a way out, it signals to everyone else to run. Run now. Run as fast as you can while you still can. If Kadyrov wants out, there is no one left to enforce the fear, especially in Caucasian countries, whose people waited for a moment to show their dissatisfaction with the regime for a very, very long time. And with no Kadyrov there to keep them in check, the entire Caucasus can start really meaningful and impactful resistance right at Putin's doorstep. Because his whole strategy, ruled by violence, sustained by loyalty, implodes if the violence turns inward or disappears altogether. It becomes every man for himself, just like everyone would expect it to happen. And once again, the most popular destination for retreat for those people who are running became once again Dubai. Why? Let's try to figure this out in our next chapter. The shift from Europe to Dubai is not just a change in geography, it's a downgrade in security. Yes, the United Arab Emirates is flashy, but it is not Switzerland. You can buy your Rolls-Royce, hire a butler, even build a private zoo if you want. But what you cannot buy is legal certainty. The law here is whatever the sheikh says it is. And if Putin offers the right incentives, say, a few gas deals, military tech or diplomatic support, your Dubai dream can evaporate faster like it never existed. That's the gamble Russia's elite are making right now. They are exchanging long-term security for short-term comfort. And the irony? These are the very same people who helped destroy rule of law in Russia, who thought they could dodge karma by laundering their crimes in foreign jurisdictions. And now that Europe shut its gates, they are running to a place where the legal system is even more vague than the one they fled. I mean, it is truly poetic, right? But for them, I guess it is high risk, high reward. You might want an example? Well, okay, just look at Sergei Istomin and Nikita Amarov, accused of fraud, arrested in the Emirates, and then sent back to Russia without so much even as a court hearing. That is the reality. If you are not high enough on the protection food chain, you are, guess what, disposable. And don't even start on Sharia law. All those Instagram models and cigar-puffing moguls might want to read up on what counts as criminal offense in an Islamic monarchy. And spoiler alert, well, the list is very long. So the next time you see a half-naked model posing in front of Burj Khalifa from even her hotel room, calling herself a self-made independent woman, just so you know she is living on borrowed time. If it is a one-time thing, well, then she might get lucky. But if she keeps doing it and then suddenly disappears from the social media, well, you guessed it. Okay, so now back to Kadyrov. Oligarchs and Russian elite who found a new hiding place. What happens when the heat rises? Pun intended in Dubai, right? 50 Celsius. Dubai will not stand in the way. They will protect the cash flow until someone more important calls. And Putin is extremely persistent when he wants someone. Especially if turning that someone into an example helps remind the others who is still the boss. Here is where it gets darkly funny. At least for us, not for those people. The very people who built a mafia state in Russia, who silenced journalists, jailed activists, and laughed at democratic institutions, now find themselves desperate for the protections those same institutions used to provide. They wanted to build a dictatorship but live in a democracy. Well, now they are stuck with dictators at both ends. Once again, ironic. And no, there is no backdoor left. The West does not want them anymore, and the East does not owe them anything. You're welcome for as long as you bring us money. Yeah, well, if you become liability, off you go. Ciao. And forget about the money you already gave us, it's ours now. You cannot call in favors when the next regime does not care who you were under the last one. The money trail is extremely visible and it is very trackable for those people who don't know. The alliances are shifting and the petty cash in your briefcase does not impress anyone if it's soaked in blood or oil. Even the inheritance games had changed. Before, elites set up trust and shell companies to make sure their children would not suffer if they drop dead. Now, those very same children are legal liabilities. Nobody wants to be the heir to a sanctioned monster. Nobody wants to explain to an immigration officer why their daddy owns 3 palaces and 0 legitimate businesses. Try to explain, hard to say the least. And that's where we loop back to Kadyrov, the man who was once the ultimate enforcer of Putin's nightmare, who now fears that his kids will not survive the monster he helped build. He's not protecting them with money, he's not protecting them with status, he's trying to get them out before the machine grinds them into paste. Just like it's done to so many before them. Many tried to escape, and many failed. The ones who succeeded were never known to the public media anyways. And now compare it to Kadyrov, who makes the headlines almost daily at this point. The chances of him laying low are extremely close to 0, because if you are a loud mouth, do not expect a quiet hiding place. Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Don't forget, on Monday there is another episode of Thank God It's Monday podcast with extremely interesting guest, which was very well requested by you guys. Very excited for you to hear the interview once again. Subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss it. If you want to support my work, there are links down below, for example, my Patreon, PayPal. You can also buy merch at therussiandude.com. Thanks so much for watching, happy weekends, see you on Monday.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell, their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway.